Thanks for joining me in my first ever process video. I'm going to share a scrapbook layout that I recently made. I was using Allison Davis sketch from her sketches for 6x6 paper pads. And I am scrapbooking my little sister's 16th birthday. She actually lives next door, so we did a socially distant birthday. This was right around when quarantine started, and we drove up and sat in the driveway, left her gift on the porch, called her out, and she came out and opened it while we were in the vehicle. So those pictures that I was just cutting up were the pictures that I had printed down into 2x2s and a 4x4 for this specific sketch. I do realize a little bit later that this sketch actually calls for 3x3 photos, and I messed that up, but we still made the layout work. So right now I am just cutting down out of the 6x8 paper pad 3 pattern papers that I chose to be the 6x6 squares that are shown on the sketch. If you have the sketch bundle, or if you're interested in buying the sketch bundle from Scrapbook Generation, this is sketch number 5, and it's a 20 sketch bundle by Allison Davis for 6x6 paper pads, and they're all two-page spreads for all the sketches. So I think I'm looking for some white cardstock here. Yep. So I get my white cardstock here so that I can start really laying out my photos and papers and kind of seeing where I want everything to sit. And this is when I realized that the sketch called for 3x3 photos and not 2x2 photos. But I lay them out anyway because I already got them printed that way. So here I'm just trying to look at the photos and figure out what order they went in, because I really wanted to kind of do like a timeline of like her seeing us, her opening the gift, and then her expression, which is the big photo that I blew up of actually opening. We all went together and got her AirPods because that was what she really wanted. So as you can see, I'm kind of throwing some photos off to the side. And the reason I'm doing that is because I printed the same photo twice. So I thought that I had 3 sets. I basically collaged the photos into a 4x6 to get them printed. And I thought that I had 3 4x6 collages, and apparently I only had 2, or I printed the same one twice and I didn't get the other one printed. So I'm looking for those duplicate photos and just kind of tossing them off to the side. I believe there is still one more. We'll see if I'm not sure when I find it. But there is one more duplicate on this layout still. But I'm just trying to figure out, since I now have less photos than I expected, where all I exactly want those photos to go. There's that other duplicate. So now I am bringing in, since the photos don't fill all that white space, I decided that I'm just going to create a strip across the bottom that fills in that space, since the photos didn't fill in that space. So I'm just cutting a 3-inch strip for both sides out of this pink patterned paper. And the collection that I'm using is the most recent I Am from Simple Stories. So now I'm just taking a look at this 2x2 cut apart sheet to see if there's any that I like to fill in those holes where there's not photos. And I do find a couple that I like. Well, maybe not yet. Okay, so now I'm trying to find paper for the top, since I found paper for the bottom, but I didn't have enough because I didn't have a full sheet of that pink paper. So I pulled out this purple pattern with the tone-on-tone butterflies to go across the top. And I tried maybe flip-flopping them, but I liked the consistency going across better. So now I'm just doing a little bit of placement. I'm going to start sticking stuff down, I do believe. So I'm not sure. I think I cut a little bit of the gluing down out for you, but I think I left a little bit of it in. So just going through, gluing down all of my pieces. So as I mentioned in the beginning, this is my first ever process video. So I've been scrapbooking since I was about 10 years old. My mom used to go to Creative Memories workshops probably about once a month, and she would take me with her, and I had my own little 6x6 scrapbook, and she would give me offcuts of all of her photos or like duplicates, and I would scrap them. And then that lasted for a couple of years, and then obviously into high school I really didn't get into it much. But shortly out of high school, my good friend got me back into scrapbooking because her family does regular scrap retreats. And so I got back into it, and then just this year, like over quarantine, I really wanted to find some like new products, new styles, because I was in a rut, just repeating stuff. And so I kind of got reintroduced to this whole community, and realized how much that I was missing out on. And so just since the beginning of this year, my style has drastically changed. I've had a Cricut for several years. I use my Cricut, but I was just recently introduced to cut files, like the type of cut files that you can back, and I've fallen in love with that. I have fallen in love with obnoxious patterned paper and lots of color and loads of embellishments. And so I really am excited, and I decided that I wanted to start documenting this new scrap journey and sharing it with everyone. So that was the reason for starting this channel. So now I did find a couple of those 2x2 squares that I liked from that 2x2 cut apart sheet. And I also found this piece of the leopard print, and I decided I wanted to back the 4x4 picture with the leopard print, and then a couple of these squares. The two squares that I pulled from the cut apart sheet, and also a select couple of photos, just to kind of throw in that little bit of animal print throughout the layout. So the top 2x2 square says loving this life, and the bottom one says fab and fierce. So I didn't have enough to back all of the photos, and I didn't really want to back all of the photos. I just kind of wanted to accent a few here and there. So now I am going to stick down all of the rest of my photos. You'll probably notice that I don't have a ruler. I don't have a mat with a grid. I kind of eyeball everything. I remember in industrial arts in school, they always kind of said, you know, like, if you're going to eyeball something, usually your eyeballs are pretty right. And I've kind of stuck with that. So Here I am making my own thickers, and I kind of stole this from some of the YouTubers that I watch, just by layering up a couple layers of the same letter cut into cardstock, and then with your pattern paper on top if you want pattern paper, or I've seen people ink them up. So I cut the my title with my Cricut 3 times, I believe. 3 or 4 times. I think 3 times. So I have 2 layers of the white cardstock, and then a layer of the colored cardstock on top. And that just kind of gives the look of like a thicker or chipboard piece when all I used was cardstock. So there's my little letters there, and I didn't make you watch all of that. So here's me finishing up the last letter, and I used that same pink floral pattern paper and the purple butterfly pattern paper to cut my letters, just to really tie in those colors from the top and bottom. So now I am going to place them on my layout, and watching this video back, I realized how much I actually fidgeted with these letters, and I cut out a good couple of minutes of me just pushing letters around, so you didn't have to watch that. But I do go ahead and glue those letters down once I'm done fidgeting with them. See, I still left a lot of it in. So there I have glued my letters down. And now I just want to fill in, because I didn't really leave any white space anywhere else. I wanted to fill in the white space on the edge of the layout. On the sketch, there are photos there, because the photos go the whole way around the perimeter. There's a couple 3x6 and 6x3s, which I didn't have, and I also didn't cut my photos big enough. So I just filled them in, kind of extended the pattern paper across the page, and filled those in with that cheetah print just to bring that pattern in a little bit more. And also, because I wasn't quite sure how good my math was, I cut them a little bit bigger than 3 inches so that I could just cut them off the edge, so that I knew I didn't have extra white space hanging out there. So I went to grab a piece of foam, because after I almost stuck this down, I realized I wanted this photo popped up, because I hadn't really popped anything up, but I did have those thicker letters for my title. So now I'm going to bring in some embellishments. I check out that 2x2 paper again, didn't really see anything. So I brought out the die cuts from this collection, and I kind of flipped through every single one. I leave some pieces on, I take some pieces off. There wasn't a whole lot that I really liked. I did like that big bike, which when I first saw this collection, I thought that I would have a really hard time using that. But I ended up using it on, like, I think this is the 3rd layout I've done with this collection. I like those little cattails, I think they're called. They just kind of really framed that picture well, and I liked that teal color there. Also wanted to bring in that pink, so I brought that little drink cup, which just, it matches my sister's personality. This whole collection matches my sister's personality, so it worked out well. And then a little Live Your Best Life over on the left that I stacked up with a little pen that fit nicely behind it. I struggle with the scooter, because I don't know what to stack with it or stack behind it because of the size difference in the embellishments. It just looks unnatural. I do eventually get a couple pieces over there. I think a butterfly ends up over there. Pulled that banner off and brought it back because I really do like it, and I think it does stay. I found a nice floral sticker that also stacked nicely with that little cluster over on the left. Not sure what else I used from the sticker sheet. focus on the good. I was trying to read that sticker. So that I wanted to pull out those yellows. So none of the pattern papers I used have those yellows in it, but the embellishments do, and that is my sister's favorite color. So I really wanted to pull that yellow in a little bit more, which is why I chose that yellow phrase sticker and the yellow butterfly, and I really like how that cluster ends up looking. I brought in another drink because it had the pink and it had the cheetah print on it. And this is from the phrase sticker sheet. They had these puffy, sketchy hearts. So I bring in 3 of those into 2 of my clusters, and then up on that top 2x2 sentiment. And here I'm just kind of attaching my embellishments down as I go. And I bring in that little snippet of foam because the corner of the picture where I put the embellishment was kind of starting to sink down. So I wanted to make sure that they stayed popped up as well since they were layered on the photo. So just kind of finishing gluing up some of my embellishments. And then I believe the brads. I forgot about the brads. So I do end up putting 1 brad on this layout. And it goes up on that top 2x2 square. So I just bring out my X-Acto knife and poke a little slit in my paper. And then I kind of fight with the brad tongs because they're not like together. They were kind of spaced out. And then a little tip that I learned from one of my favorite YouTubers, Sandy, cover up your brad tines on the back of your paper with some washi tape. And there is Rory. He decided to come check out what I was doing and got a little too much in the way, so I had to get rid of him. So I decided not to put any more brads on, but I pulled out the enamel dots and just bring in a couple clusters. I keep the same colors in each enamel dot cluster. I really wanted to pull out the yellow on the left, pull out the pink on the right, and accentuate that teal green color in the middle. But this is my completed layout, guys. I hope you enjoy it, and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks, bye.